In today's testimony in the murder trial of Derek Chauvin, we heard the Minneapolis Police Department's longest-serving officer explain why Chauvin should have never been kneeling on George Floyd's neck. Chauvin is facing charges of second and third degree murder as well as second degree manslaughter. If convicted on the most severe charge, he faces a maximum penalty of up to 40 years in prison. Lieutenant Richard Zimmerman, who has been on the force since 1985, said he thought officers had no reason to fear for their lives when Floyd was handcuffed on the ground last summer. Here's his view of the videos of the arrest.
What is your view of that use of force during that time period?
Totally unnecessary.
What do you mean?
Well, first of all, pulling him down to the ground, face down, and putting your knee on the neck for that amount of time is just uncalled for. I saw no reason why the officers felt they were in danger, if that's what they felt.
In your opinion, should that restraint have stopped once he was handcuffed and prone on the ground?
Absolutely.
All right, Minneapolis filmmaker and community activist D.A. Bullock joins me now. He works with the police abolition group Reclaim the Block. D.A., thank you so much for joining us first and foremost. Could you explain for us the work that Reclaim the Block does and how you've seen things progress over the past year?
Sure. Our work is dedicated to, allocating our public safety resources to multiple forms of public safety. And not having all of that money dedicated to the police solely. We're about reallocating resources to places where we do actual prevention, intervention on violence, mental health services that don't require an armed individual to show up. So we're all about, the reallocation of resources and putting them in the right place.
In other terms, defunding the police, which we've all learned over the past year and has been tossed around so much since the Black Lives Matter movement began. So far, what have you taken away from this trial? We've heard some gut-wrenching testimony over this week, really forcing us all to relive this traumatic event as a nation. We've seen the witnesses and members of the Minneapolis Police Department testify over the past few days. What do you make of this?
Well, it has been heart-wrenching to listen to the testimony and listen to, our community members have to relive the trauma of what they witnessed and how they tried to intervene and keep the Minneapolis Police Department from killing another resident. What's also been apparent to me and to a lot of others is how much of the common practice of what the police department does here in Minneapolis has come to bear in this trial. And as much as the police department might want to try to decouple their normal activity from what Derek Chauvin did, he served 18 years in the police department and was pretty much unremarkable up until that point, which means he was pretty much doing the standard operation of the police department throughout those 18 years.
Now, this trial is taking place in a courthouse under heavy security. What message does that security send to the people of Minneapolis as they follow the trial?
I've certainly heard that it's put people on edge and they feel like more in danger than they did previous to that. They feel a certain level of reticence from the system that we won't see justice in this case, much like we didn't see justice in the case of Philando Castillo or Jamar Clark or a number of other cases, recent cases where police have killed residents.
Yeah, it's certainly a city on edge right now, a really tense environment. You yourself have tweeted out that you don't think that this is just a Chauvin issue, that this is a larger issue indicative of the culture of the Minneapolis Police Department. I want to get to the topic of justice for George Floyd. What do you think that looks like? And for the Minneapolis community as well, how can this be addressed with one trial?
Well, I don't believe it'll be addressed with one trial. I don't think that's fair to George Floyd or his family. I believe that true justice for George Floyd would mean this would not happen again. So what that means is beyond a guilty or innocent verdict for this particular case, although we want to see justice served, we know that in order to make sure that this never happens again, we need fundamental change in the way we do public safety in our city. And we need accountability, quite frankly, to all the other potential Derek Chauvins that are currently on the force. We haven't had any transparency around those issues, around discipline issues, around how the police department is really rooting out all of this kind of activity. Because I don't think they can honestly contend to us residents that he's the only police officer that operates like this.
Accountability and systematic change. It seems like there's a long way to go before we reach that. DA Bullock, thank you.
Thank you very much.